Hey, You-est You listeners. This is Julie Reisler, your host. Welcome to the You-est You podcast. And I am excited to introduce you to today's fantastic guest. You are going to feel like you touched a light socket in the best of ways. She has so much energy. She's so electric. So let me introduce you to Kendra Araujo, who is the founder of Rebel Lifestyle Design. She's an author, a speaker, and world traveler who helps women break free from imposed expectations and create their dream life. Woohoo! After fulfilling her lifelong dream of traveling the world and visiting over 41 countries in less than 3 years, Kendra left her successful award-winning interior design firm against everyone's advice to help others achieve their dreams like she had achieved hers. She is a self-proclaimed rebel and free. She wrote the book, Mom is Not Always Right, and founded Rebel Lifestyle Design to empower girls in their 20s and 30s to follow their dreams, even if they go against their families or society's expectations. She is a certified wellness coach, licensed fire started, and has hosted live workshops internationally where she has helped hundreds of women get closer to their dream life by following her step-by-step process. She has appeared on TV, radio, and podcasts internationally. You can find Kendra rocking her signature blonde curls, traveling in style with her husband, doing yoga, or volunteering at local charities. And we'll have show notes below. You can also connect with Kendra at any time on Instagram at KendraGPA. Kendra, I am so excited to have you here. I hope people that are listening will get a sense of you, but we'll also have you on YouTube and can see your amazing electric curls and personality. Welcome.
Welcome. Oh, wow. You said everything about the bio. That's incredible. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I feel like I have to live up to it now.
Well, girl, you just be you. I'm so excited to talk to you. There's so many things about you that I'm curious to know more about and to share with others. Talk a little bit when you hear the word You-est You or being your authentic self, what does that mean to you? Maybe share a little bit, maybe a story about how you've really grown into that over the years and who you are now.
Yes, such an important message, actually. I am a big fan of your work and of this podcast because that's such an important message. It's at the core of what I believe as well. As for a story, back when I was 14 years old, my story goes back when I was 14 years old, I remember that I had this homework assignment. So I grew up in a very loving home. I'm originally Mexican, and it's a very tight-knit family, and we all shared everything with each other. However, it also came with its cultures and its own sort of imposed ideas of what the roles are and what you're expected to do. So in this homework that I had at 14, I was sort of filling in the blanks for these questions like, what did you want for your life in a sense? And one of the questions was, what is your life's biggest dream? Now I was answering this out loud with my mom cooking dinner. And then I said, oh, that's easy. I just want to live life to the fullest. And I remember her sort of dropping the spatula, turning around and saying, Kendra, that's not the answer. What do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, well, I just want to live life to the fullest. That's my life's biggest dream. And she was a little bit in shock and awe. And she's like, actually, no, I think you don't get it. It's more career related, maybe earning a certain amount of money or having a pension or your retirement secured or a nice house. And that's the moment I realized that what my mom wanted for myself and what she thought society expected of me was very different than who I was and what I wanted. And that's when I realized that if I was going to get my way, I was going to have to work hard against her, in a sense, in the most loving way, and everyone else around me to be myself, to be, I don't know how to say You-est You and the other way.
Right.
To
me is me.
My me-est me. That's right. It. To be my me-est me and to do what I truly wanted and fulfill my goals and my dreams. And it was really an uphill battle. Again, I was 14 and I had to work through all this. I had to work in unlearning all the things I had learned up until this point on what happiness should be like, what success looks like, what a girl's role is in society, to discover what I truly wanted, who I really was, and how did I fit into all of this. And really with the premise of being authentic, to who I really was. So I truly believe that, unfortunately, and our parents do it out of love. They do it because they want to protect us. They don't want us to suffer. They don't want us to go through maybe what they went through, or in different aspects, from weight stigma as women and men as well, to career-wise, to success, in a sense, marriage, all those kind of things. And we have to understand that that's not the key to happiness at all. It's about being who we truly are and following our passions and what's inside, and really learning to, accept that, and being open to seeing and giving us the opportunity to really, the little voice inside your head, the kind one, say, this is what I truly want, and then doing that.
So great. Yeah, I think you really point to something really important about, there's these expectations, and often they come as early as in our homes, in our four walls, from our parents doing their best. But like that conversation with your mom, I can imagine, that for some people that could have squashed their dream. And what I get from you is, just what I know, even in just learning about your background, leaving a successful position or job or business you created to do what you love, that takes courage. It just takes courage, I think, especially in a society where oftentimes there's certain unspoken expectations or ideas of the way that we're supposed to be, especially for women, as you said.
Yes.
And maybe tell a little bit about, how you've built this Rebel lifestyle design. I love that name and what that means to you. I love it.
So the word rebel back when I was, so this is how this all started. Let me just start back at the beginning. I always knew that I wanted to travel. Like, in this life, live life to the fullest, to me meant go everywhere, see everything, experiment just as much as you possibly can. And I did my best to build my life around traveling, because that's what it meant for me. And I did the best I could while in college, while starting this business, to do that, to travel as much as possible. But then in 2016, my husband and I had the opportunity to just buy one-way tickets and travel the world for the first time ever. And that was like a dream of mine. I just dreamt of the day when I could just jump on a plane without any plan, or sort of no plan-ish. And we did that. We accomplished that. And while on that trip, I realized that I was living my dream, and I said, if someone like me can live their dream, what's stopping people? And then when I got back, I started talking to all of these people, and everyone had, I'm going to say, limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
To avoid saying excuses.
Yeah.
And the truth is about why they couldn't, or they wouldn't, or all of this. And it's not about traveling. It's about just following your dreams, doing what you truly want to do. And it had to do with, but I have this job. But my savings. But my car. I have this responsibility. I have that responsibility. No, but I truly want to do this. I need to do that. And there was always something external. Yeah. There was something external stopping them, which is actually internal, but that's like, you work through that. Because it's about, but I said, you know what? Something inside of me, once we returned, called me to share the message, to say, hey, actually, if you stop thinking about what everyone else will think, and if you stop listening to their advice, whether it could be good or it could be bad, and you start listening to what you truly want, and you follow that, life could be so much happier and more fulfilled, and you can just start living your best life. And that's when this whole journey started. It started back again when we returned from that trip, and it's been a long journey, because interior design is very different than lifestyle design in a sense. They're both creative, but they're highly different. So I had to start learning from scratch how to do this. I got back into, I took courses, I took classes, I got certifications, I had doing all these things. And the premise of the work is to really help you uncover who you truly are and what you truly want, and help you make a plan to achieve that, and learning to build up your confidence so you can finally stop ignoring what everyone says, whoever they are. And I started doing this through the workshops, through podcasts. I wrote this. The first thing I did was write the book, like sort of get all the ideas out on paper, well, out into my computer, because it's still to be published this year.
Nice.
But once all of that was out, and I was, okay, how can I start spreading this message? And that's sort of how this started.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, and so what I heard is that there were a lot of voices on the outside. I'm sure anyone listening has naysayers or people that say, how can you do that? How can you take a year off? You're crazy to quit that. Usually always coming from them. And then also there's a voice inside, which frankly can be very loud. And I'm curious, I want to get back to your travels in a moment, but I'm curious, you talked about, the goal is to follow what you really want. That's what you've done. And I'm imagining, I've heard this before, those that are tuning in that are like, I don't really know what I want. I'm not sure. Or what I really want is X, but I'm a stay-at-home mom right now because I have 2 young kids and there's no room for that. I know that you talk about how to find what you want. Do you have any tips or ways that people listening can like uncover what they want, and then maybe even some tips on how to achieve that, like a plan? Because I think that'd be great. So helpful.
Definitely. I think like a lot of people don't really know what they want. It's not that they don't know, they haven't discovered it, because it's always there. I believe that. I have to say that step 1 or step 0, in a sense, is just starting to pay attention to how you feel. To how you feel when you're doing things, how you feel when you go to work. Do you feel fulfilled when you're going out with your friends? Are you happy with them? Do you feel like yourself when you are public speaking, for example? Does it light you up? Is it something you look forward to, or do you feel it like a burden? There's you always know there's like this big compass in your heart that guides you in the correct direction. However, we're never taught how to pay attention to it, how to listen to it, how to really interpret that. But I think it's about starting to pay attention to how you feel when you're doing the things that you do, and really giving yourself permission to feel those feelings and to see where are they guiding you. For example, I have this friend, and just sort of sharing a story that might be relatable to, and she wants to continue her education. However, she truly wants to start her own business, but she feels that she needs to continue her education just to please what everyone will say if she changes course. And I was like, okay, what do you truly want to do? And she's like, I actually want to start this business. It's something that I'm feeling called to. And do you feel happy about that? Does it like, and she's like, yes, I'm all excited. I have all these ideas. And I'm like, okay, now how do you feel about going back to school? She's like, actually, I feel like it's going to be a burden. It's going to be so tough. I'm going to have to do this. And is that something you want to do? Actually, no. But it's about, in asking those questions, she was able to sort of, and of course that conversation was really long, but that's just sort of like a huge summary. When you start asking those questions, how does it feel when you think about that future? Is it something that you feel happy about? And if the answer is no, then don't do it. Don't do it. And the more you start to pay attention, the more you sort of realize what truly lights you up and what's truly your heart is saying that it's craving, what your soul is wanting to do. And then you can start doing those things. And as far as the plan, now going to the other side, once you sort of narrow down the things that make you happy, and the people you're happy with as well, because that's a whole different conversation too. Once you have that, you can just start making a step-by-step plan to achieve it. And sometimes step 1 is simply doing some research, simply asking for help. A lot of us don't know. For example, when I was switching careers and changing my entire life path to doing something other than interior design, I had no idea how to start. So I had to start calling people, hiring help, mentors, reaching out to mentors, reaching out to people that have done it, and just really educating myself into things. So I think that's, a lot of us are scared of change because it will push us to break out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
But it's in that growth when you truly find yourself, and the outcome is just fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah. I love that. So I think what I'm hearing is really, and I agree with you, it's really paying attention, being very cognizant of how you're feeling and everything you're doing. Does it give energy? Does it not? And like you said, does it light you up, or does it feel like a burden? And start to watch that trail unfold. And I think the other piece you said, I love this, when you start to have a sense, and I agree, is finding someone who's doing it, finding a mentor, finding someone that can guide you. I can imagine that's huge. Anything else that you would add? I think these are great steps. Anything else that you would add around what to do next?
Actually, yes, I do have one more step that I think it's key, is at the very beginning when you're going through these changes in your life. And let's be honest, they are scary, like we talked about, because it forces you to do something different that you've never done. And all these insecurities can start to come up. And I think what is really important, not a lot of people do, is surrounding yourself with people that would lift you up, surrounding yourself with people that actually want to see you succeed. Because unfortunately, going back to the naysayers, it's not that they don't love you. Sometimes they're the people closer to you, the people that actually love you. However, since they don't understand it, and we as humans tend to feel where we don't understand, they might want you to stay where they're comfortable. So you need to start surrounding yourself with people that will help you go through the hard, because there's going to be days that it's going to be super hard. And it's that support system that will get you to the finish line. I think that's key.
That's so great, Kendra. That's so great. It's really this idea of creating an environment, atmosphere, like you said, of those that see the best in you, that can support that probably have an abundance mindset where you're winning doesn't take away, or there's not fear running the show, but there's we all win when one person wins. I could imagine that being part of it too.
Definitely. Lifting each other up, because it's teamwork for sure.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Talk a little bit, what made you decide to take the word rebel in the title that you have for yourself? I think it's such a great, like, evocative word. What was your thought behind that?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I was in this marketing class. Like I said, I took all these classes to switch what I was doing. And in one of them, we have to come up with this way to describe who were we talking to and what were we doing. And I interview all the people that I love, and I ask them, describe me. I describe myself, and I ask all these people around me to describe me. And every time something kept going back to rebel, like, what am I doing? I'm going against expectations. I'm going against society. Who does that? Well, a rebel does that. Besides, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I can say maybe it came from there. But
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I think it's rebel because, and I read this quote and I just fell in love with it. Loving yourself right now is a rebellious act in society, because we're taught to fit into this image, to be this way, to look this certain way, to do this, to dress like this, and to do this to portray success. And when we shift that into, because the premise of this whole thing is you love yourself. If you love yourself, you won't take anything less than the best for you.
Yeah.
And you won't accept a life that doesn't fulfill you, because you love yourself too much for that.
Yeah. Love it.
So, yes.
I love it. And I think what a great reframe on rebel. Like, actually, that's such a great quote. We'll have that it's actually a rebellious act to love yourself, especially these days. I know you do a lot of work with girls and young women. This is the area. I mean, I think all of us could have more appreciation and love for ourselves, because, of course, as you do, you can give more. How do you work with girls and women to have more of this rebellious self-love? Like, what are ways that you do that? Maybe tips that you have? Like, how do you help people to uncover and to find that? I have to say that of all the obstacles I've overcome in my life, weight was one of the biggest ones. Like, unlearning this pattern that unless you're skinny, you can't be happy, or that's the way it's supposed to be. That was the biggest one. That was like my glass ceiling in a sense. And I can tell you the story. We were in China, and we were at the Great Wall of China. So it was this big dream coming true, right? I was there living my dream, traveling with the love of my life, and it was all beautiful and incredible, except it wasn't. Because I was feeling fat, because I was hating my body, and I couldn't take a good picture. At least I didn't think I could take a good picture. We spent an entire hour on taking pictures, or Jay spent an entire hour taking pictures of me, just for me to hate all the pictures. I don't want to say waste, but just focusing on the negative. And
out of those 3 million pictures that we took, only like one made it to social media that showed like half my body only, because I couldn't get over the fact. But the thing was, it wasn't the looks. It was how I was talking to myself.
Yeah.
It's what I was saying to myself. I was saying things you wouldn't say to your enemy. And it's conquering that really changed my entire life. So when we returned, I learned about body positivity. I learned about self-love. And I saw this girl dancing on Instagram in her underwear. And she was definitely a plus size.
Yeah.
And it took like this blindfold off my eyes that to me, that was unthinkable, because that's how I was raised, to just sort of, if you don't have a six-pack, cover yourself.
Wow.
And I've never had one, so I was always in that covering myself. But when I realized that was stopping me from achieving happiness, I was living my dream, but I couldn't be happy because I wasn't loving myself enough. Yeah. That's when I learned that's the key. That's where all this rebellion starts. Because, and we go back to, you need to love yourself so much that you don't take that for granted. You don't take that hate towards yourself. And I guess what I did when I saw her, I run to my bathroom. I took all my clothes off and I looked at myself naked in the mirror, and I started looking at the part that it's for me, it was like my tummy and all that middle section. And I was like, you are beautiful and I love you. And I started doing that, looking at all the parts that I never thought were beautiful, that I was taught to hide and cover up. And it was a whole emotional moment. I cried. It took me a long time. And I was there just standing naked, finally appreciating my body, being grateful for my body, for all the work it does for me. And now that's something I do every morning. Every morning I wake up and I stand in my bathroom mirror naked and I say the same things. And sometimes I change the words a little bit, whatever I need to say at that time. But I face myself and I am grateful. And that's what I teach my girls to do, because your biggest hater is in here, in your head. Yeah. And unless you start to win that battle, nothing will ever give you happiness and true fulfillment, because you'll just be your own biggest enemy all the time.
So powerful, Kendra. It's interesting. I think anyone listening, especially, I would imagine maybe men too, maybe the men listening too, definitely women, I'm sure can relate. I've done a lot of that work myself. It's made a huge impact. I do something similar every day. And it's like, yeah, you're all of that is beautiful, everything and sacred. And thank God, thank goodness it's there and supporting us. I love that you're doing this with women and young women. I think, we're in a society, especially with, as you were talking about, being at the Great Wall of China, taking photos and, being in this like selfie society where we take photos nonstop and look at them and compare ourselves. I know for me, one of the things I'm really passionate about is just changing the whole conversation. It's not about comparing. It's like, let's collaborate, let's create, let's celebrate what we have, and let's focus somewhere else. Like, it doesn't matter what anyone else, 6-pack or not. And I get it. I get that. I know I'm like, 2-pack maybe, not 6-pack. So I love what you're doing. I guess one or two last questions. One would be, actually, having traveled that much, I'm wondering if there was a gift or a learning that kind of you came away with after seeing 41 countries, after traveling like that.
Well, I guess the one thing you realize is that we're all the same. Yeah. People around the world, we're all the same. We are all waking up. Everyone's waking up to provide for their families, to try and live their happiest lives, and to just see their loved ones succeed. And that's real everywhere in the world. And that really humbles you to realize that we are all the same. We are not different. We may do some things differently. Maybe we adore a different God or eat different things. But we are all, in essence, the same. We are all just looking to be the happiest we can and providing for our families. That it all comes down to that. It's so interesting. And it's sort of just letting go of this hate towards the unknown. Like we were talking about, we fear what we don't know. Yeah. But when you finally understand that we're all the same, there's nothing to fear.
Gorgeous. Last question. I know you're working on a program that might have already, by the time this airs, it might have been out. It's called She's a Genius. And I love the premise of this. Can you talk a little bit about your dream and thoughts behind this program, what you're doing?
Of course. Thank you so much, Julie. Yeah, so She's a Genius was this idea to how can we reach more people? How can we spread this message further? And how can we nourish this message even more? This message of being the You-est You, of loving yourself, of following your dream, of really finally letting go of what will people say, to realize what do you truly want, who do you truly are, and doing that. So the dream for this, the vision for this, is to bring together top women from around the world, because again, this message is global and it reaches and it affects women everywhere in the world. So bring these women sharing their stories on how they broke through those barriers in the different areas where they are geniuses and came out the other way winning, happier, more fulfilled. And we're not talking about monetary success. We're talking about real life success, as in happiness, as in I'm authentic, as in I love what is staring back at me in the mirror. And this is just a community of amazing women sharing their stories, making the lives of every woman signed up for the event, which was free or will be free whenever this airs. And it's just about spreading the message. The more we spread messages of self-love, the more we aim to help other people, the better the world will be. So that's the whole premise behind this event.
Love it. I love it. I love the name. And I think it's so important what you're doing, and especially with younger women and anyone really. This message is for everyone. But it's so clear you are lit up by who you are, what you're doing. And thank you for, Kendra, being such an inspiration and being your authentic, your most, rebel self. And I'm so thankful to really get to know you and share your wisdom. And it's just been a lot of fun having you here. Any last thoughts or anything you'd like to share that you feel like, yep, that's still there for me. It's a piece of wisdom I can share. Any last thoughts?
Well, first I want to say thank you, Julie, for this space. I think the work you're doing is incredible. I think being authentic to who you are, which is your message at the core of what you do, and with your book, which I loved, is so important for women and men out there, because we're not taught that at school. No one teaches us to be who we truly are. We are taught to just sort of follow along what we're supposed to be doing. And I just want to thank you for this space and for that message, and for being open to sharing that message as well, because that took courage as well for you.
Thank you. I think the underlying piece of all of this is it takes courage, and it's so worth it. So find that courage within you. Thank you for being a walking ball of rebellious courage. Literally, you guys, she has the coolest blonde curly hair. I love it. It makes me want to crunch it. And for sharing your beautiful spirit, Kendra. I really appreciate you and I honor you.
Thank you, Julie. And thank you, everyone listening. Grab all the advice you can from Julie. She is amazing.